You want me to what? Zorkthal's antennae twitched in disbelief. Visit the Human Military Academy. His superior officer repeated slowly, as if talking to a particularly dim-witted larvae. It's part of our new cultural exchange program. Zorkthal's compound eyes darted nervously. But sir, the humans, they're savages, deathworlders. Did you know they drink dihydrogen monoxide for fun? The officer sighed, mandibles clicking in irritation. That's why we're doing this, you overgrown larva. To dispel ridiculous myths like that. Now get your thorax over there before I demote you to grub scrubber. And that's how poor Zorkthal found himself standing at the gates of the United Earth Military Academy, feeling about as comfortable as a Jovian gas bag at a pin factory. A human cadet approached, grinning widely. Zorkthal fought the urge to flee at the sight of those horrifying bone protrusions humans called teeth. "Welcome to UAMA," the cadet exclaimed. "I'm Jake. I'll be your guide today." "Charmed," Zorkthal managed, trying not to flinch as Jake extended a terrifying 5-digited appendage in greeting. As they walked, Jake kept up a steady stream of chatter. "So, what do you think of Earth so far? Pretty different from your home planet, huh?" Zorkthal nodded weakly. "Yes, the gravity here is intense." He stumbled, barely catching himself. "How do you endure it?" Jake laughed. "Oh, you get used to it. Hey, want to check out the gym? We're having a powerlifting competition today." Before Zorkthal could protest, he found himself in a cavernous room filled with sweating, grunting humans hefting impossible weights. His exoskeleton nearly cracked from the sheer horror. "And here's Chad," Jake said, pointing to a mountain of muscle and protein shakes. "He's our top lifter. Chad, show our guest your deadlift." Chad grinned. More teeth. Empress preserve him. And grabbed a bar loaded with what looked like small moons. With a roar that would make a kraken wet itself, Chad lifted the ungodly weight. Zorkthal's wings fluttered in panic. But how? That's impossible." Jake shrugged. "Nah, that's just Tuesday for Chad. Wait till you see him when he's really trying." Zorkthal made a mental note to recommend immediate surrender to the High Council. Next, they visited the mess hall. Zorkthal watched in mute terror as cadets shoveled all manner of substances into their maws. "What are they consuming?" he whispered. Jake glanced at the trays. "Let's see. Looks like Taco Tuesday. So that's ground beef, cheese, lettuce, and... oh yeah, Dave's downing some ghost pepper sauce. Crazy bastard." Zorkthal's antennae drooped. "You eat the ghosts of your enemies?" Jake burst out laughing. "Man, you're hilarious. Nah, it's just really spicy sauce. Want to try some?" "I'd rather gargle plasma, thank you," Zorkthal muttered. As they left the mess hall, a siren blared. Zorkthal nearly jumped out of his exoskeleton. "What's happening? Are we under attack?" Jake checked his watch. "Nah, that's just the signal for afternoon PT. Come on, you can watch." Zorkthal found himself on a field, watching in horror as hundreds of cadets ran laps, did push-ups, and climbed ropes, all while shouting what he could only assume were war cries. "They do this voluntarily?" he asked, voice quivering. Jake nodded. "Yep, gotta stay in shape. This is actually the easy day. Tomorrow they're doing the obstacle course." Zorkthal didn't want to imagine what a human obstacle course entailed. Probably lava pits and killer robots. As the day mercifully came to an end, Jake walked Zorkthal back to the gates. "So what did you think? Pretty cool, huh?" Zorkthal's entire body trembled. "It was educational," Jake beamed. "Awesome! Hey, next time you visit, we'll take you to the firing range. You'll love it." As Zorkthal stumbled away, he made a solemn vow. He would return to his homeworld, resign his commission, and take up a nice, safe job. Like defusing antimatter bombs, or wrestling black holes. Anything was better than facing the terrifying madness that was humanity. Jake watched the alien scuttle away, shaking his head with a chuckle. "Man, these Xenos are wound tighter than a 2-credit watch. I didn't even show him the really fun stuff." Meanwhile, Zorkthal was frantically calling his superior. "Sir, we must abort all plans for invasion immediately." "Calm down, soldier," the gruff voice replied. "What in the name of the Empress's left tentacle has gotten into you?" Zorkthal's words came out in a panicked rush. "The humans, sir! They're monsters. They lift small moons for fun. They consume the essence of spirits to flavor their food. Their young train in torturous rituals daily." There was a long pause on the other end. "Are you sure you didn't accidentally visit one of their entertainment simulations? What do they call them? Movies." "I wish, sir," Zorkthal moaned. This was all too real, and the worst part, they seemed to enjoy it. Back at the academy, Jake was regaling his friends with tales of the aliens' visit. I swear I thought his eyes were gonna pop out when Chad did his deadlift, Jake laughed. Though with those compound eyes, it'd be more like a fireworks show. His roommate, Sarah, snorted. Please tell me you didn't take him to the biology lab. Remember what happened with the last alien visitor? Jake winced. Yeah, who knew they'd faint at the sight of a dissected frog? But nah, I played it cool this time. Just the gym, mess hall, and PT field. And that was enough to send him running? Sarah raised an eyebrow. Geez, what do they do for fun on their planet? Competitive photosynthesis? As they joked, across the galaxy, Zorkthal was furiously typing up his report. And in conclusion, he wrote, antenna still quivering, any military action against the humans would be suicidal. These beings casually defy physics, consume liquid fire, and train their offspring in conditions that would break our strongest warriors. I strongly recommend a full retreat from any human-controlled space, effective immediately. He hesitated, then added a postscript. P.S. If anyone needs me, I'll be hiding under my sleep rock for the next solar cycle, or possibly the rest of my life. Back on Earth, Jake was planning the next cultural exchange. You know, he mused, I hear the Arcturians are sending a delegate next month. Think we should tone it down a bit? Sarah grinned wickedly. Nah, if anything, let's crank it up. I say we take them to the Zero-G combat training module. Jake's eyes lit up. Ooh, good call. And maybe finish with a nice, relaxing session in the holographic wargames suite? Now you're talking, Sarah laughed. Who knows? Maybe we'll actually find an alien with a backbone this time. As the humans plodded, blissfully unaware of the interstellar panic they were causing, Zorkthal huddled in his quarters, trying to forget the horrors he'd witnessed. One thing was certain. He'd never look at the night sky the same way again. Not when he knew what lurked out there, lifting weights and eating spicy tacos with reckless abandon. The galaxy, it seemed, was a far more terrifying place than he'd ever imagined. And humanity? They were the scariest monsters of all. As Zorkthal's report made its way up the chain of command, it caused quite a stir in the Galactic Confederation. Emergency meetings were called, threat assessments were hastily revised, and more than a few high-ranking officials found themselves in need of anxiety medication. Meanwhile, on Earth, life went on as usual. Jake and Sarah were in the middle of their morning routine, which to any alien observer would look like a form of voluntary torture. Come on, Sarah, Jake wheezed, sweat pouring down his face as he struggled through his 100th push-up. Only 900 more to go. Sarah, who was casually juggling plasma grenades while running on a treadmill set to Everest, rolled her eyes. Slacker, I've got another 2 hours of this. Then it's time for my light study session. Light study? Jake asked, moving on to one-armed handstand push-ups. Yeah, just a quick review of quantum mechanics, xenobiology, and advanced battlefield tactics. You know, the basics. Unbeknownst to them, a cloaked Confederation spy probe was watching this exchange, its AI nearly frying its circuits in an attempt to process what it was seeing. Back in the Confederation capital, the High Council was in session, reviewing Zorkthal's report and the new intel. This can't be real, squeaked Councillor Blorp, his gelatinous form quivering with each word. Surely they're putting on a show to intimidate us. Admiral Zix, a grizzled veteran of a dozen space battles, shook her head grimly. I'm afraid not. Our deep cover agents have confirmed it. This is just how humans are. A collective shudder ran through the council chamber. But what about their entertainment? Asked another counselor. Surely they must have some form of relaxation. Admiral Zix pulled up a hologram. Well, we've intercepted some of their movies. It seems they like to watch simulations of things even more horrifying than their daily lives. Look at this one, called Die Hard. As the council watched the action unfold, more than a few members had to excuse themselves to evacuate their waste sacks. Meanwhile, Earth's own intelligence agencies had caught wind of the alien interest. In a secret bunker deep beneath Washington, D.C., General Hawkins was briefing the president. So let me get this straight, the president said, pinching the bridge of his nose. The aliens think we're some kind of super soldiers, because of a gym class and Taco Tuesday? General Hawkins nodded, trying to hide his amusement. Yes, sir. Apparently, their idea of military training involves a lot of meditation and light calisthenics. The president couldn't help but chuckle. And what do you propose we do about this, General? A mischievous glint appeared in Hawkins' eye. Well, sir, I say we play along. If they're this scared of a few push-ups and some hot sauce, Imagine what they'll think if we really put on a show. Back at the academy, Jake and Sarah were blissfully unaware of the interstellar panic they'd caused. They were too busy planning the welcome for the next alien visitor. "I've got it," Jake said, snapping his fingers. "We'll take them to the virtual reality lab. Show them some of our historical battle recreations." Sarah's eyes widened. "Ooh, good call. Which one? The Siege of Stalingrad? The Battle of Thermopylae?" Jake grinned. "I was thinking we'd start light. You know, maybe the Normandy landings?" As they plotted, the galaxy held its breath. The humans, it seemed, were not just residents of a death world. They were the death world, and somewhere in a dark corner of space, Zorkthal was seriously considering a career change. Perhaps agriculture on a nice, boring planet where the most exciting thing was watching the grass photosynthesize. Anything to get away from the terrifying enigma that was humanity. Little did he know his adventures with Earth were far from over. As the galactic community trembled in fear of humanity, life on Earth continued its chaotic, adrenaline-fueled course. The next cultural exchange was fast approaching, and this time the Arcturian diplomat was in for a treat. Ambassador Zixalex of Arcturus Prime prided himself on being unflappable. He'd negotiated peace treaties in the heart of plasma storms and brokered deals with silicon-based life forms that communicated through interpretive crystallization. Surely these humans couldn't be as bad as the rumors suggested. Oh, how wrong he was. Jake and Sarah were waiting at the spaceport, barely containing their excitement. They'd prepared a special welcome for their esteemed guest. "Welcome to Earth," Jake boomed as Zixalex disembarked, his voice easily drowning out the roar of a nearby shuttle launch. The Arcturian's tendril-like sensory organs recoiled at the volume. Sarah grinned, revealing those terrifying human teeth. "We've got a packed schedule for you, Ambassador. Hope you're ready for some fun." Zixalex's translator must be malfunctioning. Surely they didn't just use the words packed schedule and fun in the same sentence. Their first stop was the light morning warm-up at the Academy's gym. Zixalex watched in horror as cadets bench-pressed weights that could crush small moons, all while discussing their weekend plans as if this was perfectly normal. "And here's our rock-climbing wall," Jake said casually, pointing to what looked like a sheer cliff face inside the building. "We like to spice it up a bit, so we've added some random gravity fluctuations and the occasional plasma burst. You know, to keep things interesting." Zixalex's color shifted to a pale green, the Arcturian equivalent of going white with fear. Next came the VR historical battle simulations. As promised, they started light with the D-Day landings. Zixalex found himself in the middle of a chaotic beach, explosions rocking the ground, bullets whizzing past his head. This is your history?" he gasped, ducking behind a virtual barrier. "Oh yeah," Sarah said cheerfully, casually tossing a digital grenade. "Pretty tame compared to some of our other battles. Want to try World War III next? That's where things get really wild." Zixalex politely declined, making a mental note to recommend immediate surrender should Earth ever look in Arcturus Prime's direction. The day continued with a dizzying array of activities that the humans insisted were totally normal. A quick lunch break involved something called Ghost Pepper Eating Contest, which Zixalex was relieved to learn did not actually involve consuming spirits. As they walked, or in Zixalex's case, wobbled, to their next destination, a commotion broke out nearby. A hovercab had broken down, trapping its passenger inside. "Oh no," Sarah exclaimed. "That poor person might miss their appointment." Before Zixalex could process what was happening, Jake had rushed over, gripped the side of the vehicle, and with a grunt that would make a star go supernova, lifted the entire cab off the ground. "There you go, sir," Jake called to the stunned passenger. "You should be able to get out now." Zixalex's sensory tendrils went limp. Is he some kind of genetically enhanced super soldier?" he whispered to Sarah. Sarah looked confused. "Jake? Nah, he's just a regular cadet. Though I hear he's been slacking off on his protein shakes lately." As the day mercifully came to an end, Zixalex found himself back at the spaceport, eager to put as much distance between himself and Earth as possible. "Hope you had a great time," Jake said, slapping the ambassador on what he hoped was a shoulder. "Next time we'll show you the really exciting stuff." As Zixalex's ship broke atmosphere, he began composing his report. "To the High Council of Arcturus Prime," he began, his tendrils still quivering. "I regret to inform you that the rumors about humanity are not exaggerated. If anything, they are grossly understated." Back on Earth, Jake and Sarah were debriefing with their commanding officer. "So, how'd it go?" the officer asked, barely looking up from his paperwork. Jake shrugged. "Pretty well, I think. Though the ambassador seemed a bit jumpy. Maybe we should tone it down for the next visit?" Sarah snorted. "Tone it down? No way. I say we kick it up a notch. I hear the Andromedans are sending a delegation next month. Think we can get permission to demonstrate orbital skydiving? As the two cadets enthusiastically planned their next interstellar diplomatic incident, the galaxy watched Earth with a mixture of fear, awe, and utter bewilderment. Humanity, it seemed, was the ultimate cosmic joke, and the punchline was a doozy. As Zixel X's report circulated through the highest echelons of galactic society, the Confederation found itself in an unprecedented predicament. Fear of humanity was reaching fever pitch, yet their attempts at intimidation seemed so oblivious. In a top-secret bunker on a forgotten moon, the Galactic Security Council convened an emergency session. "We must act now," thundered General Kurthuk, his exoskeleton clattering with agitation, "before the humans realize their power and decide to conquer us all." Ambassador Lur of the omniscient Squid Collective waved a tentacle dismissively. "Calm yourself, Kurthuk. If they meant to conquer us, why invite us to their planet? Why show us their capabilities?" "Because they're insane!" Kurthuk shot back. "Did you not read the reports? They simulate their most horrific historical events for fun." As the debate raged on, a small crystalline being cleared its throat, or whatever passed for a throat in a silicon-based life form. All eyes turned to Oracle Extal, the Confederation's foremost xenopsychologist. "Friends," Extal's melodious voice chimed, "I believe we're approaching this all wrong. What if the humans genuinely don't realize how terrifying they are?" A stunned silence fell over the assembly. Meanwhile, back on Earth, humanity remained blissfully unaware of the interstellar panic they were causing. In fact, they were more concerned with their own internal affairs, specifically the upcoming Intergalactic Friendship Games. In the Oval Office, the president was being briefed on the event. "So, let me get this straight," he said, pinching the bridge of his nose. "We're hosting an Olympic-style event for multiple alien species, some of whom can manipulate gravity, and others who exist in 11 dimensions simultaneously." "Yes, sir," replied the Secretary of Extraterrestrial Athletics. "We believe it's a great opportunity for cultural exchange and, well, to show off a bit." The president sighed. "And how exactly do we plan to compete with beings that can bend space-time?" The secretary grinned. "Well, sir, we've got a secret weapon. 2, actually. Cadets Jake and Sarah from the UEMA." Back at the academy, Jake and Sarah were being informed of their new mission. "You want us to what?" Jake asked, his eyes wide with excitement. Their commanding officer, Colonel Steele, repeated himself slowly. "You two will be Earth's premier athletes in the upcoming Intergalactic Friendship Games. Your task is to showcase humanity's unique abilities." Sarah was practically bouncing. "Oh man, this is gonna be awesome! What events are we talking about?" Colonel Steele pulled out a holographic display. "Well, we've got the basics. Strength competitions, endurance races, problem-solving challenges. But we've also added a few special events." "For humans? I'm starting to think this is them being restrained," came the nervous reply. As the games began, it quickly became apparent that the term friendly competition meant something very different to humans than to the rest of the galaxy. The first event was the simple obstacle course. Jake and Sarah stood at the starting line, stretching casually. Their alien competitors eyed the course with growing horror. Lava pits, swinging axes, and was that a black hole at the far end? "On your marks!" boomed the announcer. "Get set! Go!" Jake and Sarah took off like rockets, leaping over lava pits, ducking under swinging blades, and generally treating the death-defying course like a pleasant jog in the park. Their alien competitors hesitated at the first obstacle, wondering if there had been some terrible mistake. "Come on, guys," Sarah called back cheerfully, swinging from a rope over a pit of writhing tentacles. "The neutrino maze is coming up, and that's where the real fun begins." In the stands, the alien spectators watched in mute horror. The human audience cheered wildly, some complaining that the course looked a bit easy this year. As the day progressed, the events got progressively more intense. The friendly feats of strength competition had Jake casually juggling small cars. The refreshing swim turned out to be a race through a tank full of genetically engineered megasharks. "Don't worry, they've been fed recently," the announcer assured the terrified alien participants. But it was the gauntlet that truly cemented humanity's reputation. As the event was announced, a hush fell over the alien spectators. The human crowd went wild. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of indeterminate gender," the announcer's voice boomed. "Prepare yourselves for the ultimate test of skill, strength, and sheer insanity. The gauntlet." What followed was a blur of activity that defied description. Participants were launched into orbit, required to solve quantum equations while free-falling through the atmosphere, navigate a laser maze underwater, and finally compete in what appeared to be a combination of chess, mixed martial arts, and interpretive dance. Through it all, Jake and Sarah grinned like maniacs, clearly having the time of their lives. Their alien competitors? Most were hiding under the bleachers by this point. As the first day of the games came to a close, the alien delegations huddled together, shell-shocked. Did you see what they made us do?" whimpered a usually stoic Vulnarian warrior. Zorkthal nodded grimly. And to think, this is their idea of friendly games. Imagine what they do when they're being serious. As the aliens tried to come to terms with the day's events, Jake and Sarah were already excitedly planning for tomorrow. "I hear they're adding antimatter handling to the relay race," Sarah said, her eyes gleaming. "This is gonna be awesome!" Jake nodded enthusiastically. "I know, right? Hey, do you think we should invite some of the alien athletes to our light evening workout? You know, to help them prepare for tomorrow?" As they walked off, chatting about the relaxing lava surfing they had planned, the fate of intergalactic relations hung in the balance. Would the aliens flee in terror? Or would they start to see the bizarre charm in humanity's death-defying antics? One thing was certain. The intergalactic friendship games were far from over, and Earth was just getting warmed up.